said, here's what I want you to know. I am a normal person. And I thought, congratulations, very few of us. And he said, what happened was, I made a special saw that cuts trees vertically, not horizontally. And I finally cut into the divinity tree. And I had 13 slabs, that's what I call them, he said. And I knew I could make a lot of money from them because it was Harvard and it was a divinity tree. And so I thought these would be beautiful tables. So I had my crew take them out. I took the first one with my crew member. And as I was walking into the showroom, I heard as plainly as I'm hearing your voice, take me back to the divinity school. And he said, I was so freaked out, I thought, I'm just tired, I'm under pressure, move faster. And we moved them all faster. I took the last one myself, it was smaller, with again another crew member. And I heard in my heart, take me back home now. And I don't know what happened, but I ordered the crew to bring all the tables back. I did some research. I saw the story. Someone gave me your name. Do you want them? And then he said, I need $100,000. And I said, I want them. I have no $100,000. And this is still a painful wound in the divinity school. But I do have $5,000 if you will take this as my word that we'll figure it out. And we figured it out. I knew it was still contentious when the new dean of the divinity school, the first black woman, was inaugurated. And the president of Harvard University stood up. He didn't say welcome. He didn't say this is a historic occasion. He said, I was going to tell a joke about the divinity tree, but thought better of it. And everyone laughed.
Wow.
I knew the only way that we were going to be able to do this was to call the donor. And I called Susan Swartz of the $60 million. And I said, Susan, would you have tea with me? I have a story to tell. And I told her the story I just told you. And I said, would you come with me to see the body of the divinity tree? It's in Connecticut. And we can take a train. And she said, I've never been on a train. And so we went, and she said yes. I think we thought that it would be a big heap of sawdust, you know how it is. We found our way to the warehouse, and when we knocked on the door and John Monks opened the door, we walked in, both of us burst into tears. It was like being inside a forest. Huge, huge vertical trees. Sacred space. And he took us to the divinity tree. And it was there that Susan put her hands on that heartwood and said, we all make mistakes. And then what I saw was when they told us that some of the tree was decayed because of the carpenter ants, I saw that decay. And suddenly both of our hands were on that wood and we realized both stories were true. There was decay, there was also another 100 years. And Susan said, we need a round table so that we can remember our hard histories. We need a round table so that we can know two opposing views can come together. And that this round table will be a table of gratitude, humility, and grace. That round table was brought back to the school in December. And would you believe me if I told you that it was a day of such extraordinary winds and snow? And when that table came, when John Monks came, we opened the door and the entire floor of the basement, of the ground floor of the Divinity School was covered in red oak leaves. There's so much I haven't told you in between, but I think the absence has been the tree's presence. The group of students that have come after the tree was killed, murdered, They don't come to the divinity school to be priests and preachers, or even theologians. They're coming because they want to make a difference in the world. With nonprofits, as chaplains, as educators. The students, after the tree was taken, they started what was called a fire salon in that empty space. And from that fire salon, our most radical students have emerged. Those were the students that went after Susan and I did to see the body of the tree. And then we learned something amazing. The dean who made that decision, he and his wife had gathered 100 acorns and took them to the Arboretum. And one of the maintenance workers, the one who I saw tears fall when that tree was felled, nurtured one in particular, the one acorn that took. It's now 5 feet 8 underneath the other nurse trees. And it becomes a story of courage. The courage of that worker to not take the body of the divinity tree to the chipper in Maine to use for firewood, but to turn left to Vermont and place that on John Monk's lawn. The courage of John Monk's to listen to that voice, to say, I am a noble person, but to realize that tree was speaking. Susan Swartz, who said, yes, I will come, and then saw both stories and realized those stories had to come together in the round table. The story of the dean who made the decision to gather acorns with his wife and to quietly plant them, and then the worker, Roger, who then planted that seed as a sapling and nurtured it, didn't tell anyone until he knew those roots were secure underneath the other red oaks that had been planted. One in particular, when the tree was killed, when we went up to the sister tree, it was absolutely drenched in sap. Mm-hmm. These are the stories that I think bring us back to life. These are the stories that we can't bear, but we're in the middle of the story. And if we can see this moment as being in the middle of a story of transformation, not without grief, not without heartbreak and loss, but that with our own acts of courage, we can see a fuller story because of our own actions. The divinity tree is a glory. Those of us in this room that are gathered here at this time of uncertainty are glorians. And I believe that the earth is dreaming us back to life in a way we can't yet see. I'm going to close with this last passage.